Today we're going to look at the worst Magic the Gathering card cost for almost no gain. We're talking like alternate casting cost, activated ability cost. You pay this thing and you get basically nothing out of it. We're going to start off with Coastal Hornclaw, a card I actually saw just browsing Reddit, and I was like, oh my god, this is so bad. 5 mana, 3/3 bird. Sacrifice a land, and the Coastal Hornclaw gains flying until end of turn. It's a bird. Then you have to sacrifice a land to give it flying. It should be born being able to fly. Anyway, I didn't think you could pay such a high price for something so small. For such a, I don't know, very, very small advantage. Of course, this has to come from Prophecy, one of the absolute worst sets ever in the history of the game. All right. Let's go start off with Pejman's Kervex Spite. Kervex Spite. This is the triple black instant. You have to sacrifice all your permanents. Yeah, and discard your hand to target player loses 5 life. It's a burn spell. I definitely could. If you have enough black mana sources in your deck, that's a burn spell, baby. Just has to be the last one. You know what? It probably is free to have only one in your deck, too. I bet it's free to have one. Toads with the final payment. Kervex Spite. It's going to have its day one day. Oh, unfortunately, it's part of the reserve list. All right, final payment is a black-white instant. As an additional cost to cast the spell, you got to pay 5 life, or you have to sacrifice a creature, or an enchantment to destroy target creature. You know, that's pretty fascinating, especially since we have a card called Terminate, and it also destroys creatures. Except this one forces you to actually pay with something else. This is super strictly worse than Terminate. It's far worse. Unless you really need to sacrifice your creature. Or your enchantment, for that matter. Maybe enchantment that was, keeping something safe for a while. Blue, green, black entertainment. We got Adriana's Valor, because there's no point to it, in my opinion. Adriana's Valor it's a conspiracy. Okay, hidden agenda. Start the game with this conspiracy face down in the command zone and secretly name a card. You may turn this conspiracy face up anytime and reveal the chosen name. Whenever a creature you control with the chosen name attacks, you can pay a white. And if you do, that creature gains indestructible until end of turn. The odds. So start this game. At the very least, it's free. It's at least free. Okay, so just to give anyone a heads up, conspiracies are meant for your draft deck. So the odds you draw the card that you drafted, not super great, but it's sort of a free roll. It's sort of a free roll. I don't even know what most of the conspiracy cards do because they're not even legal in constructed play. Next up, One with Nothing doesn't have an additional cost to it. Technically, I mean, this one, yeah, this does have a cost. You actually have to pay a white to give the creature indestructible. You said no gain. These all have gains. The gain has to be bad. Well, it has to be very bad. The gain has to be worse than what you paid for it. That's basically what it is. I mean, of course, if you could pay 0 for flying, if you could pay 0 for flying, that'd be great. Paying a land. I don't think so. So basically, what you pay is higher than what you get out of it. That's what today's show is all about. Okay, next up we got where's Islarf? Islarf. Sphinx's Tutelage. This is a 3-mana enchantment. Whenever you draw a card, target opponent puts the top 2 cards of their library into the graveyard. Now, if they're both non-land cards that share a color, repeat this process. 6 mana, draw a card, then discard a card. So whenever you draw a card... Oh, I see. So we're going to draw a card, make the opponent... You know, they might as well have just not had this activated ability on here in the first place. It probably should have just been nothing. It's basically irrelevant. You're basically paying this thing for the 3 mana. I mean, I guess it's a free roll, if nothing else. You're probably going to be drawing a hell lot more cards just playing the cards in your hand or using something else. Okay, we got the Rated Lex. Thanks so much for your super chat, Rated Lex. Snowfall does nothing and has cumulative upkeep. So the ability is bad, and the upkeep is worse. It's a 3-mana enchantment. Ugh, I can't read the ancient scripture on this one. So I can't read the ancient scripture. Okay, cumulative upkeep of a blue. Whenever an island is tapped for mana, its controller may add an additional blue. If that island is snow, its controller may add an additional blue instead. Spend this mana only to pay cumulative upkeep costs. That's funny. So the only point of this card is to help you keep its existence in play. It exists just for the sake of existing. That's exactly what this card does. Bulky with the Warping Worm. Yeah, Snowfall. You pay all this mana just for the sake of keeping it around. Warping Worm is a 4-mana 1/1 with phasing. During your upkeep, pay 4 mana. Or Warping Worm phases out. You know what? Maybe we should just not let it stay in play. When Warping Worm phases in, you get a whole +1/+1 counter. What does that mean? In 8 turns, it'll be a 4/4? Oh, sorry, no. In 8 turns, it would be a... In 8 more turns, I should say. We're on like turn 12 at this point. It'll be, I guess, a 5/5. Terrible ability. Next up, we already did Karavek Spite. Gotta be up early in the morning, Christopher B. Okay, Little Deadfly, Call for Blood. It's a good one. And by good, I mean terrible. And that's exactly what today's show is all about. It's a 5-mana arcane instant. As an additional cost to play Call for Blood, you have to sacrifice a creature, and target creature gets -X/-X until end of turn, where X is the sacrificed creature's power. We spent 5 mana on this thing. So I think the only thing this card could maybe do uniquely is it can kill an indestructible creature. That's all it can do. Otherwise, this is an overly expensive destruction spell. And what happened to Doomblade? I mean, I guess this thing can hit the can hit the black creatures. And the bigger the creature is, the bigger you have to sacrifice your own. Funny enough. Okay, Elixir, thank you very much for your super chat. Jokul Mortar. The 7-mana 12/12 trample. Does it have any abilities? Oh, I think it has some, yeah. Comes into play tapped. And then when Jokul Mortar comes into play, you have to sacrifice it unless you sacrifice 5 lands. And doesn't untap during your untap step. But whenever you play a land, you may untap your Jokul Mortar. This is more of a trigger. What do you know what? Ability is this is a cost? Yeah, we're gonna say that's a cost, absolutely. Just very in kind with the Leviathans. When it comes into play, you sack all your lands. You feed it to the Leviathan. Very hungry for your islands. And then hungry for your opponent. Fortunate it's a 12/12. We got Lewis Turin with does Purge Protection count? Six mana for an instant. We got a gift an extra turn. Create 4/2/2 blue bird creature tokens with flying. If the gift was promised, all permanents you control phase out. And until your next turn, I wouldn't say so. I think the Teferi's protection here is actually quite strong for gifting an extra turn to somebody. Could be even an advantage. You gift an extra turn to somebody to help defeat somebody else. Like, what do you care? You got a bunch of creatures in play, and you know what? All your stuff phases out. Next up, let's go Old Boys Aethertide. Aethertide, a blue and an X. Sorcery. Choose and discard X creature cards. Oh, God. Return X creatures to their own side. Oh, no! That is awful. And we still have to pay the cost. So if you want to bounce 5 things, look, you see these, you see what you see out here on the image? These are the souls, the dead souls of all the creatures that you chose and discarded along the way. You have to still pay X. So if I want to bounce 5 creatures, I gotta pay 5 and discard 5 creature cards. This is awful. It's a weird super unsummon. Okay, next up. Christopher B with the Tree Spring Lorien. Tree Spring? Lorien? This is a 6 mana 5/4 beast with morph of 6. Oh yeah, okay. So you wanna morph it into a 5/4? There's no difference, really. Yeah, it's the cost. Casting it costs the same amount as morphing it. So if you morph it as a 2/2, you are literally paying more to get the same Tree Spring Lorien. I guess this is the interest that you have to pay in the long run here. Okay, next we got a super chat here from John. Thanks so much, John. Really appreciate it. Joda's Avenger is detrimental each time it's used. You don't say. Okay, we have a 6 mana 4/4, pay a 0. Until end of turn, Joda's Avenger gets -1/-1 and gains your choice of double strike, protection from red, vigilance, or shadow. Okay, I'll sort of count it. You can't use this eternally. And also it's not very big to begin with. So you could give it, you know, protection from red, but it'll become a 3/3. And then next time you want to give it like indestructible, or does it give an indestructible? Gain choice of double strike, protection from red, vigilance, or shadow. Okay, so you can give it like sort of unblockable. Then it turns into a 2/2. And it's 6 mana. Like to some degree, I feel like you're paying for some of this ability up front here. I feel like this is a 4 mana card at best. So you've already paid 2 mana just to have this thing at 0 mana. Put a down payment on your Joda's Avenger. Next up, we got Mr. Muchacho. Longtime watcher. Howdy, Mr. Muchacho. Evan with Chronotog. In a vacuum. I think, is it Chronotog? Oh, yeah, it's Chronotog. In a vacuum. This is terrible. 2 mana 1/2. Skip your next turn. Chronotog gets +3/+3. Use this ability only once each turn. Well, what would happen if? Oh yeah, I guess you could one shot somebody. Okay, I'll give you 20 turns. Oh, by the way, I'm gonna kill you. It'd be the most dangerous card maybe in the game if you didn't have this use this ability only once each turn clause. We need one of those unset cards that says like use this ability, like you can change the number or whatever. Use this ability only 20 times each turn or something to that effect. Elixir, thanks so much for your super chat. Oh, we did Carvex Spite. Sorry about that. Carvex Spite is going to be that card that's just going to be like everywhere today. Thought Lash. I like Thought Lash. You know, I don't think it's that bad. Especially in Commander. 4 mana, cumulative upkeep, remove the top card of your library from the game. You got a lot of cards in Commander. You have 99 cards. Okay, maybe like 92 or less. Maybe 87 by the time it comes into play. When Thought Lash cumulative upkeep isn't paid, remove your library from the game. That's a feature, not a bug. Remove the top card of your library from the game. Prevent the next 1 damage that would be dealt to you this turn. I mean, I guess it's weird. If you get hit for 10, you're basically milling yourself. Your library becomes your life total. Then at some point, you're going to start running out of cards, and then then your life total is your life total. Only 20 times per turn. That's just Nadu. That's correct. Alex Bruce with Baron Mastered Wizard. We have Baron Master Wizard, 3 mana, 1/1. Counts as a wizard. And for 2 mana, sacrifice a permanent, return target creature to its owner's hand. These you know what? Them bounce spells back then. They must have been considered just absolutely broken. Which is really funny because, well, they weren't broken. Creatures back then were super terrible. It was all combo decks, control decks. If you were running creatures, you're an absolute chump. You basically revealed yourself as a noob if you brought creatures to this game. And it's just really incredibly punishing to bring them down. We have to discard our creatures to bounce stuff. We gotta sacrifice permanents to bounce them as well. Proto Braid absorb V. This is a 7 mana sorcery. Target player loses 4 life and you gain 4 life. But you have basic land cycling of 2. What's wrong with basic land cycling? you think it should be worth 1? I think the going rate is 1. Also, 2 seems like really expensive for a card that's already 7 mana. It's quite a bit. That's quite a bit of manas here. Okay, next super chat we have from Benovsky. Can you play the DK super chat sound effect? It is my favorite. Which one? I have 2. What is this? I have another one just in case. Okay, we're gonna donate that one. Okay, we're gonna give it to Accesta with the Null Brooch. What is this? 4 mana artifact, pay 2, tap, discard your entire hand, counter target non-creature spell, play this ability as an interrupt. Well, you know what? If you don't need your hand, or if you're empty-handed, this actually looks great. Of course, I mean, playing on emptied isn't a great strategy, but if you're a type of deck that only plays off of your graveyard, I actually like this card. I mean, I'm not going to deny that this ability, it's not exactly going to go into everybody's deck, unless maybe you're a Madness deck. Maybe you can make some use out of this. Discard your entire hand. You know what? What's it called? The Dredge players, they're licking their lips looking at this thing. The first one is my favorite. All right. Hellbent, anybody? Bryce with Flubs the Fool. I thought that card was pretty good. 3 mana for a 0/5. You play additional lands on each of your turns. Whenever you play a land or cast a spell, draw a card if you have no cards in hand. Otherwise, discard a card. Is this like you may play it? This doesn't actually have any activated or additional abilities or anything. There's nothing. There's no downside. You're not paying for anything here. Not the way I'm looking at it. Okay, we got Scatherius, Acacian. Ooh, the money changer. There we go. This is the real deal. I'm not reading the ancient scripture. This is a white creature, white human. It used to be a townsfolk. This creature enters with 3 credit counters. When this creature enters, it deals 3 damage to you, too. At the beginning of your upkeep, put a credit counter on it. Sacrifice this creature. You gain 1 life for each credit counter on this creature. Activate only during your upkeep. It's a 1 mana card. Got to kill it quickly. You don't want them credit counters to be accumulating around here. Before you know it, there'll be like 6 credit counters. That's worth 6 life. I was Flubs Lobes Null Brooch. I don't even know what that means. Oh, he says it works with Brooch. Okay. Did we do Soul Spike? Soul Spike. You know, it's funny you say this. This card went from complete worthless trash to a stunning, amazing staple. Like now it's I don't know how else to describe it. It went from like pennies to like I think $80 at one point at its height because of the Necro Dominance deck. It's a 7 mana instant. You may remove 2 black cards from your hand from the game rather than pay Soul Spike's mana cost. Soul Spike deals 4 damage to target creature or player, and you gain 4 life. You basically spend 3 cards to do this. Your hand is going to be empty. For a basically marginally super lightning helix. But it has found its way because of, just to give some history here, Necro Dominance. So Necro Dominance forces you to, if you draw a bunch of cards, let's say you draw 20 cards. You pay 20 life, you draw 20 cards. Well, before you discard your hand-to-hand size, well, you gain a little bit more life off your Soul Spike. But I agree, this is a completely worthless piece of garbage. Corbinek with... oh, I did that one. That's how I started the show, Corbinek. Great minds think alike. Okay, Elixir. Would you consider Pact of the Titan? Ooh. I would, actually. Okay, 0 mana instant. You create a 4/4 red giant creature token. At the beginning of your next upkeep, pay 5. If you don't, you lose the game. Maybe I'm not certain. I think This is like one of the only pacts that are just worthless by itself. Like, I understand there's some like combos with Hive Mind. I think this is one of the few pacts. Nobody plays it for its own sake. Like, you can play Pact of Negation and pay the 5 mana. Everyone plays Summoner's Pact. Slaughter Pact, pretty common card. Not a bad removal spell. This is basically 5 mana for a 4/4. We're talking. This is a draft level sort of nonsense. Same level as a draft card. Except you get to, I guess you get to attack with the. It's not, I guess you basically got a 4/4 with haste. End of turn, 4/4 red giant, pay the 5 attack. No, Storm decks don't even want to play with this card. Never. They have better things to do. Spellstutter. Does Colossus of Sardia count? We'll find out in a minute. It's 9 mana for a 9/9 trample. Colossus of Sardia doesn't untap during your untap step. You gotta pay 9 mana to untap your Colossus of Sardia. Activate this ability only during your upkeep. You better believe this card's terrible.
No, God, please, no!
It wasn't enough that we paid 9 mana. You know what? This is like when you, actually, I don't know how to describe this. What is something that is really expensive, and then you keep paying costs after that, and it's an equal costs? It's like I'm renting something. I don't actually own it, and I'm renting something really expensive. It's like Echo before. Yeah, you know what? It's like Echo before Echo. It's a permanent Echo too. At least that has trample, so hopefully we just peck our opponent for at least a few points of damage. Toilet Dock with Guy's Balance. I didn't know Guy had any balance. 4 mana for a sorcery as an additional cost to play Guy's Balance. Sacrifice 5 lands? I only have 4 to cast the card. Where do they think these lands are coming from? You think I'm made of lands? Search your library for a land card of each basic land type and put them into play. Then shuffle your library. I can't even find for each basic land. I can't even find non-basic lands out of this. I'm literally going to sacrifice probably all my basics. I guess it's a weird color fixer. I guess if I need Wooburg, I only have 1, and I'm heavy on, like, I don't know, green, red, then it can, like, fix the mana in my deck. But outside of that, what happens if they counter this? Like, seriously, I'm dead. It's over. It's like a one-sided Armageddon. What if they play what's it called? What if they play some card that doesn't let me search my library? What about limited resources? Oh, hold on, are you talking about as a suggestion? Limited resources? Can't remember if there's some inactivated ability on this. When it comes to play, each player chooses 5 lands and sacks the rest. As long as there are 10 or more lands in play, players cannot... there's no activated... there's no cost to this card. Unless maybe you're talking about this one. Welding Jar... I think the cost on Welding Jar is fair. It costs almost nothing, and you basically regenerate a creature. It's not bad. I don't love it, but, like... Look how free this is. You don't pay any mana. No mana down. So I don't think I would count this. Jonathan with Alabaster Leech. This doesn't have a cost either, I don't think. It gives you it taxes you, doesn't it? Yeah, this one doesn't count. There's got to be some cost to the card itself. This one just taxes you. Lesthian with Copperleaf Angel. Five mana for a 2/2. It's not a very impressive. Again, Prophecy. The golden age of garbage. Flying. Tap, sacrifice X lands to put X +1/+1 counters on our Copperleaf Angel. Guess what, Angel? You may not be big to begin with, but I have a solution to this problem. Sacrifice all your lands for the greater good. And then, of course, it gets hit by, like, a removal spell. Hey, I like the Copperleaf Angel. I guess the card is fine so long as you never sacrifice anything. Is there like a way you can abuse this? Probably not. The second leech will the second leech will have a second cost. Yeah, I know. Yeah, additional cost to casting a spell, activating ability, anything like that. That's basically how the show is going today. Algot with circulating vultures, or sorry, circling, those damn vultures. The definition of the show: a black 3/2 flying. During your upkeep, remove the top creature card in your graveyard from the game, or bury your circling vultures. If circling vultures is in your hand, you may discard it. Play this ability as an instant. Huh? So I can at any moment. Oh, I can use my circling vultures to feed the next circling vultures. Hexenort with mana size. Mana seism. We're seizing the mana. Gonna take it all. Oh wow! This looks like someone who just struck gold or struck oil or something. It's just spewing out everywhere. I'm rich! I am rich in mana! 2 mana sorcery. Sacrifice any number of lands. Add 1 to your mana pool for each land sacrificed this way. Oh my god. What is the point of this? You know, we've now looked at so many of these sacrifice as many lands as you want cards throughout the history of the game. Is there why? Maybe back then they like depended much more on artifacts. You know, it was just a thing of the time at the time. Minovsky is like wood elemental. Won't spend too much time. Wood elemental is pretty iconic for being one of the worst creatures in the game. 4 mana star. When it enters the battlefield, you have to sacrifice any number of untapped forests. Wood elemental's power and toughness are each equal to the number of forests sacrificed as it entered the battlefield. Untapped. Talthar, Arctic Nishoba. 6 mana for a 6/6 trample with cumulative upkeep of 2 green or white. You get to choose. When the Arctic Nishoba is put into a graveyard from play, you gain 2 life for each age counter on it. It's put into the graveyard. Oh, I see. So the longer it stayed in play, the more life it gives. It's a money changer. It was a money changer before the money changer became a thing. This is the great cat grandfather of the money changer. At some point there was some sort of crossbreeding, because it's basically the same damn thing. Jack Solaris with Flamekin Blade Whirl. Okay, we have Flamekin Blade Whirl. This is a red 2/1 elemental. As an additional cost to play the Flamekin Blade Whirl, reveal an elemental card from your hand or pay 3. It's only a 2/1. That's it. I have to reveal an elemental for this? Draft crap. Absolute draft crap. Benjamin says, tap out with mana floating, sack all your lands to double your mana with the mana seism. Yeah, but like, the cost is so great. That, yeah, I mean, you might, you know, when you have strategies like that, where's that mana seism? If you have a strategy like this, that is the last card you're playing. If it doesn't work, if there isn't no big payoff, I mean, you're just a goner. It was a one-sided Armageddon. Everyone hates Armageddon. Who out there loves Armageddon? Well, Armageddon yourself, I suppose. Oh, you hear what the sound that is? You know what that means? We're going to look at more terrible cards with casting costs or additional casting costs. But we got to thank our sponsor today, FusionGamingOnline.com, your favorite place to buy the worst Magic the Gathering cards with these weird activated abilities. Of course, Ether Drift is out for your buying pleasure. You know, ramp up your speed. Go to max speed. Get your cards from Ether Drift at FusionGamingOnline.com. And, you know, of course, you can get Magic the Gathering cards. They have Yu-Gi-Oh! They got Flesh and Blood. They got Pokemon. They do all the famous card games, especially Magic the Gathering. It's what they specialize in. And also, of course, when you buy your Magic the Gathering cards, please use coupon code Nikachu at checkout to get 5% off all your purchases. And, of course, it supports the channel. And it warms my heart. That's what matters the most. We're also going to thank Mana Traders, my favorite place to rent Magic the Gathering cards online. I play on Magic Online because I can play all the formats and I can play any deck I want or any variation of a deck that I want without actually having to buy anything, commit to anything. And if the deck sucks, well, that's great. I can keep tutoring and changing and tweaking it as much as I want because I'm just renting the cards. I don't actually own them. And you, too, can be renting on Magic Online with Mana Traders. You can support the channel using my Mana Traders link in the description below or save 40% cash back on your third month subscription using coupon code Nikachu_8GS. And now, back to Flamekin. The Flamekin Blade Whirler. Terrible card. Oh, what is this card? Abandon Hope. This is what everyone names with Pithing Needle when you're about to lose. 2 mana with X. Sorcery. Choose and discard X cards. Look at target opponent's hand and choose X of those cards. That player discards those cards. That's terrible. Well, maybe... Oh, but you have to pay the X. I keep forgetting. You know, if it's just like 2 mana and you you cross out the X, which is also like a cross, this card would be amazing. But if you're actually paying for the thing, why not Thoughtseize instead? Well, Thoughtseize can only hit 1 card, Benovsky. Think what would happen if you could hit 5 cards? That's like their entire hand. I think that's the point of this thing. Meme Bruli with Disruption Protocol. Just use Counterspell? Probably. So, okay. Blue, instant. As an additional cost to cast this spell, tap an untapped artifact you control, counter target spell. Oh, yeah. This is just strictly worse Counterspell. It's not. Just to pull out the crickets here. Arian, Valakut Invoker. It's the unlucky guy, right? Isn't this the supremely unlucky person? 3 mana for a 2/3 human shaman. Pay 8. Valakut Invoker deals 3 damage to any target. What? You know what? What's 8 mana if you have infinite mana? That's basically infinite damage. Well, to be honest, there's going to be a lot of cards like Valakut Invoker out there. 8 mana. Where did this come from? This came from Battle for Zendikar. This is really giving me Rise of the Eldrazi vibes because they had a bunch of I guess they continued the cycle of invokers. There's like another one that's like pay 8 mana, all your creatures gain flying or some crap like that. You have no card here yet today, Steve Cooper. Wren's Run Vanquisher. Hey, I like this card. It's a 2 mana 3/3 elf warrior with Death Touch. There's additional cost to cast this spell. You have to reveal an elf card from your hand. Now, no, don't get me wrong. You have to build elves in a completely different light. I mean, I'm sure no elf deck wants to play this card, but still, I like this card. I think it has potential. It's like a 3/3. It's like a 3/3 Doomblade sitting there on defense. Bryce says, how about Conspiracy Unraveler? Conspiracy. Gonna unravel them conspiracies. 7 mana for a 6/6 flying. You may collect evidence 10 rather than pay the mana cost for spells that you cast. That sounds awful. To collect evidence 10, exile cards with total mana value 10 or greater from your graveyard. This is actually a free roll. I don't know if I would count this. It's not an activated ability. It's like an alternate casting cost. We collect evidence 10. To collect evidence 10, exile cards with total mana value 10 or greater from your graveyard. I think it's too free. I'll tell you what's wrong. It's just the 7 mana out of this whole thing. Not bad. The alternate ability is not bad enough. Aladdin's Ring. What is this, 4 mana? Oh, no, it's 8 mana. Oh, it's 8 on both sides. Yeah, it's 8 to cast, 8 to activate, and deals 4 damage to target creature or player. That's strictly worse than our Valakut Invoker, I think. You can spend 8 mana, or maybe it's the same. Well, what if you have 16 mana? Then the Valakut Invoker deals more damage than Aladdin's Ring. Little MX Doom. Why are you called little? Your heart is so big. Tomb of Urami. If no one has said that. Nope. Oh, is this the one that you sacrifice all your lands? Tap, add a black to your mana pool. Tomb of Urami deals 1 damage to you if you don't control an ogre of all creature types. You know what? If you put a gun to my head, I can't name you 1 ogre that isn't a changeling. I don't know. Then for 4 mana, tap, sacrifice all lands you control. That's going to be a lot of lands. Put a legendary 5/5 black demon spirit creature token with flying named Urami into play. I actually have lost to this card once. Someone just randomly decided to play this in Modern. And you know what? If you're empty-handed, it's not bad. It's like a Hail Mary thing. Like, okay, I'm going to keep the pressure on, or like I'm super far behind. So why not have a flying 5/5 demon at the expense of what lands I have left in play? Sorry, Dimitri, I'm still going around everybody's first picks. A lot of first picks here so far still. Who, like F, Civ, Island, the Island Fish, Jos Canis. Pay to untap, no trample, often a big wall. Is there like not an up-to-date version of this card somewhere? No, there isn't. Okay, this creature doesn't untap. For 7 mana, it's a 6/8. Doesn't untap during your untap step. But you at the beginning of your upkeep, you can pay triple blue if you do untap this creature. The creature can't attack unless defending player controls an island. When you control no islands, you sacrifice this thing. It's a very giant glorified wall for the wall decks out there. We did Carevex Spite, Blink Somniac. We've done that one. There's always that one card every show. Everyone's just naming over and over and over. And over and over and over again. Okay, Jess with Death Pit Offering. What are we going to offer them here? We have 4 mana for an enchantment. When Death Pit Offering comes into play, sacrifice all creatures you control. Creatures you control get +2/+2. Why? What is the point of this thing? That's insane. The whole point of it is to buff your creatures, but you have to sacrifice all of them. How has the show been going on for like 3 years and this card never came up? Good with Arcbound? I don't know if this is good with anything. It's good with like Undying and maybe Persist or something like that. Okay. Panovsky, what's the deal with Juju Bubble? Well, if you have an infinite mana, you get infinite life. Pay 1. Cumulative upkeep of 1. If you play a card, you must bury your Juju Bubble. Pay 2 mana, gain 1 life. That's it. That's what, all you're doing with your life right now is gaining life. Aaron says for this last card, perfect for my creatures deck when I can't get a creature out before turn 4. I guess so. I guess this is a card for like buffing your demons. Anyway, Juju Bubble. Not completely worthless. Remember, infinite mana is infinite life. Lil MX student says, what if Island Fish Dracanis remained an island and you could fetch it with fetch lines? Would be busted. Would be, but it didn't have cumulative upkeep. Okay, I guess we're on no 2 cards yet. Train now. We have Hexnort with overlaid terrains. A lot of terrain out there. Is it overlaid terrain, maybe? Oh, overlaid terrain. 4 mana enchantment. As it comes into play, sacrifice all lands you control. Another one of these cards. Lands you control have... What? What the hell? Lands you control have tap, add 2 mana of any one color to your mana pool. I just sacrificed my lands. I don't have any lands to add my mana. Do you know what's a way better play than playing the overlaid terrain? Not playing it at all. I probably have way more mana in play if I just don't play the overlaid terrain in the first place. I guess you have to cheat the... I don't know, you have to cheat this in play before you actually get too many lands out or something? Oh! Big brain on Steve Cooper, this an Aftermath analyst. Which when sacrificed can bring all your lands back from your graveyard back to the battlefield. Great idea. Little MX Doom with elaborate fire cannon. How elaborate? And was it made by a goblin? Is it goblin quality? Can it fire my goblin cousin? 2 mana artifact. Elaborate fire cannon. It doesn't untap during your untap step. Pay 4, tap. It deals 2 damage to target creature or player. And at the beginning of your upkeep, you may discard a card. If you do, you untap your fire cannon. So what this basically says is I am overpaying for shock. This is literally just shock. 4 mana for shock. Sorry, 6 mana. You pay the first shock is 6 mana, but every additional shock is 4 mana. Ooh, that's a deal. We're coming way ahead here. What do we have? Where's Dimitri? Dimitri wanted a second card so badly. Since Blue Green Black Entertainment business account in the middle of rebranding was me and I forgot to switch accounts. Akum Firebird. Or Akuma Matata. 4 mana for a 3/3 Phoenix with flying and haste. Attacks each turn if able. Landfall. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, you may pay 6 mana. If you do, return Akum Firebird from your graveyard to the battlefield. Huh? Does this trigger when it's not in play? Or does this trigger like another Akum Firebird? I don't really understand this card. Attacks each turn whenever a land enters. Does it trigger from the graveyard? If that's true, then this is not that good. If you need a Akum Firebird in the graveyard and one in play, then it's terrible. This is a brutal card. Whenever a land enters the battlefield, you may pay. If you do, return Akum from your graveyard to the battlefield. No, I think this is just too free. Next up, Jack Solaris. The Death Pit Offering combos with Promise of Tomorrow. Real card is Hazrin Ogress. What are you talking about? Okay, oh, I see. Okay, your super chat is for Hazrin Ogress. Two mana for a 3/2. When it attacks, it deals 3 damage to you unless you pay 2 mana. Wow, this is just a complete embarrassment to all the 2 mana. We have like 2 mana. I mean, we have 2 mana 5/6s these days. No downside. They're called Tarmographs. The good old Tarmograph. Who else? We have Corbinak here. Firebug Goblin. The worst goblin ever. 2 mana for a 2/2 goblin. When Goblin Firebug leaves play, sacrifice a land. You're right. It's a strictly worse Grizzly Bear. Strictly worse. Next up, let's get something from Real Different. Maybe we're going to get something real different here. The Scornful Egotist. Worst morph ever. Oh no, it's not the worst morph ever. It's still pretty bad. Okay, you know what? Even for one mana, yeah, I'll agree. It could have been 0 mana actually. If it was 0 mana, it was still the worst morph of all time because you're converting a 3 mana 2/2 into a 1/1. You're just literally shrinking your creature for no reason. I don't even know why you'd want to play a blue to turn it into a 1/1. To get this wizard synergy online, I guess that's it. You badly need that wizard in here. Next up, let's get Talithar, the disciple of Tevesh Shat. Not actual Tevesh Shat. 4 mana for a 3/1. Human Cleric. Tap. Target creature gets -1/-1 until end of turn. But pay 6 tap. Sacrifice your Tevesh Shat. Target creature gets -6/-6 until end of turn. 10 mana to take down Primeval Titan. Was it worth it? Was it worth it? Lil MX Doom with the Rhystic Caves. Did I not spell this right? Rhystic Caves. Mana abilities absolutely count. Rhystic. I think I know what you're talking about. Rhystic something. Oh, it's just Rhystic Cave. Scryfall doesn't like the plurals for some reason today. Landfall, tap, add 1 mana of any color. to your mana pool unless any player pays 1. Actually, does this count? Add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool unless any player pays 1. Because this isn't a cost on you; it's a tax on somebody else. You know what? I actually have to. I think I have to disqualify this one. Because you don't. I mean, mana abilities would be fine, but it's got to be like tap, pay 3, add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool, something to that effect. Free of Me says you could have a strat to put it in the graveyard for evidence. That's all I can think of. There we go. So we're going to donate this one to Bread and Cheese Man, the Orcish Spy. Those orcs peeking out of a wooden telescope. Red 1/1, orc, tap. Look at the top 3 cards of target player's library. Put them back in the same order. They can foresee. Wow, they can foresee the future. Would not play this, that's for sure. It's interesting, though. It's like a weird, crappy Lantern of Insight. The Orc of Insight. Okay, next up. Dangerous one with Hammer of Bowgarden. You dare. Hammer of Bowgarden. Sacrilegious. Okay, used to be unironically OP. Yeah, it actually used to be good. It saw a little bit of modern play for a fraction of a second. 3 mana for a sorcery, deals 3 damage to target creature or player. 5 mana. Return Hammer of Bowgarden to your hand. Use this ability only during your upkeep and only if Hammer of Bowgarden is in your graveyard. So the idea is, like, if you're empty-handed, like, I mean, just spend your mana on something instead of doing nothing. But by all means, by today's standards, no one's spending 8 mana for 3 damage. Oh my god! It's the same rate as the as that 2/3 red creature that you have to activate 3 mana. Sorry, 8 mana for 3 damage. I didn't put that together. Except this isn't a creature, it's strictly better. But it's so similar. Alex Bruce with Banshee. Okay, here's Banshee. 4 mana for a 0/1. Pay X, tap. Banshee deals X damage divided evenly between you and target creature or player. No way. Round up for you and down for the creature or player. Deals X damage divided evenly. Why are we hurting ourselves more than the opponent? Yeah, the Invoker, the red Invoker. That's what I was thinking about. Do you not get a card yet, Toads? Mystifying Maze. So it looks like Maze of Ith to me. Tap that colorless. Pay 4, tap. Exile target attacking creature and opponent controls. At the beginning of the next end step, return to the battlefield tapped under its owner's control. Oh, strictly. It's not exactly strictly worse Maze of Ith. It's just crappier Maze of Ith. Because Maze of Ith doesn't tap for mana. Which I think is cool. I think it's cool when my lands, they don't tap for mana. As stupid as that sounds. Little MX Doom. Mad Blind Mountain. This card just makes me go, why? A lot of the cards today make me go, why? It's a mountain. It comes into play tapped. Pay a red, tap, shuffle your library. Play this ability only if you control 2 or more red permanents. Shuffle my library. It is a mountain. I can fetch this out. So the only point of this card is if you need to manipulate the top of your deck. That's the only thing it does. Or if you like to shuffle. Or if you're a big cheater. If you like to cheat, this card is probably pretty good for you. Why are you shuffling your deck so much? Because, I don't know, I just like it. It's a strategy for them. They need more ways to shuffle for free. Only if you control 2 or more. But you need the 2 red permanents. You do have to pay. I mean, it's not nothing. But it's not at sorcery speed either. You can do it at end of turn. Next up. Kano, you have no card? Starlight. Invoker. All the Invokers today. Those Invokers, they were very, very expensive. Starlight Invoker, 2 mana for a 1/3. Where'd this come from? Oh, did they spread the invokers over like many years? So this is 8 mana. You just gain 5 life. Again, infinite white mana, infinite life. It's fetchable, yet fetch lands already shuffle. Exactly. That's a pretty good comment. Yeah, the Mad Blind Mountain. It's fetchable, but you already have fetch lands. But you know what? You can run out of fetch lands. Oh, you can also run out of things to fetch. That happens even more often. Lil MX Doom with a Winter Moon Mesa. Generally never seen this card. Yet you're suggesting it. Another fan of Scryfall. Okay, this comes into play tapped. You tap to add 1 colorless mana to your mana pool. You can pay to tap, sacrifice Winter Moon Mesa to tap 2 target lands. That's right. We are going to basically sacrifice 3 lands, tapping 2, sacking 1, just so I can tap 2 of your lands. Super Richmond port for 1 turn, and then never again. Next, we'll get one from Benjamin Berkeley. Balduvian Shaman. Absolute shite. Oh yeah, this does... I don't even know what this does. Screw the ancient scripture. Tap. Change the text of target white enchantment you control that doesn't have cumulative upkeep by replacing all instances of one word with another. That enchantment gains cumulative upkeep of 1. That's right. It's the death sentence to these white enchantments. That's the real cost. I guess... I don't know why blue would want this. You can hurt your opponents, like protection from blue cards, effectively. Okay, next we got Blink Somniac. How about Lich? Maybe. Probably. We're gonna go visit Mr. Lich. Okay, Mr. Lich. It's a 4 mana enchantment. As it enters the battlefield, you lose life equal to your life total. You don't lose the game, however, for having 0 less life. If you'd gain life, draw that many cards instead. Whenever you're dealt damage, sacrifice that many non-token permanents. If you can't, you lose the game. When Lich is put into the graveyard from the battlefield, you lose the game. You don't lose the game for having 0 less life, though. Basically, it has what's it called? Thought Lash vibes. Where your life total is no longer your life total. Your life total has been transferred to something else. It's called your library. And if you lose your library, you're screwed. So whenever you're dealt damage, sacrifice that many non-token permanents. Oh my god, no, this is actually worse. Yeah, and then if you lose the game. Nobody has said lose the game cards like Final Fortune. Because those cards are actually probably good. You're playing those cards because you expect to win next turn. That's its only point. You're not actually going to get to your next turn. You know, extra turn cards, they're broken. That's why they're all seeing play. Dustin Newbie with Cannon Fodder. Cannon Fodder. Let's get an English version. 4 mana. Pay for it, tap, sacrifice a creature. Cannon fodder. Sorry. It's called Fodder Cannon. Fodder Cannon deals 4 damage to target creature. Just got to keep them creature. Oh, yeah, here we go. This is definitely a goblin card. Step 1, find your cousin. Step 2, get your cousin into the cannon. Step 3, find another cousin. That's why they like to breed. They breed for cannon reasons. Jack Solaris. Thank you very much. Lurking Evil. Triple black enchantment. Pay half your life. Pay half your life. Round it up. Lurking Evil becomes a 4/4 horror creature with flying. What's horrifying is the cost to turn it into a creature. Half my life. You could also, you know, these days you can just pay 3 mana. So I guess the idea is it's technically not a creature. So you could play it, and then you could play, for example, Drown in Sorrow, or like Toxic Deluge, Damnation, like some sweeper, right? And it doesn't affect your Lurking Evil, then you pay half your life and you start getting into the red zone. I think you would end up, like, in a commander game, would you, like, die first? In a one-on-one game, you probably don't die immediately, but it's close. You go to 10, you go to 5, 10, 5, pay after your life, round it up. You go to 2, you go to 1. I think you kill someone just in time. You have to make sure you don't take any damage. Would Death Shadow even play it? No. But maybe. I don't want to count it out. Indiana Jones essence bottle. Wow, this is a very realistic art. 2 mana for an artifact. Pay 3, tap. Put an elixir counter on your essence bottle. Tap, remove all elixir counters from your essence bottle. Gain 2 life for each elixir counter removed this way. So basically, we are paying 1.5 mana a turn for life. I think it's worse than the Juju bubble. Juju bubble or bobble? Bobble. Little MX Dune. Pine Barrens. Last card. Strictly worst gate. Is it? Well, it's not a gate, so you can't win the game off of Mazes. There we have Pine Barrens enters the battlefield. Tap. Tap, add a colorless to your mana pool. Tap, add black or green to your mana pool. Pine Barrens deals 1 damage to you. I mean, it's strictly worst Painland, right? I can't remember. What was it? Yavimaya something? Maybe not. I don't remember what it is. There are some decks that really like this type of card because it's technically 3 colors. This is old. Oh my goodness. It's a 3-color land. It's a tri-land. You can cast your Eldrazi's. Any Eldrazi fans out there? Okay, old boy. Why are Pain lands good? Because it adds 3 colors of mana. So you have something like Thought, Not, Seer. There are some cards that you need to tap for colorless. Like this one. You see this diamond over here? It's technically it's a colorless mana. So these cards have been errated. Here, let me show you. The errata here is it doesn't tap for a generic. It taps for a colorless, and you need specifically a colorless to cast those Eldrazi cards, and amongst a few other cards. So this is not a dual land card. It's actually a 3-color card, with colorless being the magical 6th color of magic. Do you even have to keep paying for Lurking Evil? It doesn't say until end of turn. Oh, is that true? Oh, you're right. Yeah, this is a one-shot deal. All right, that's a good price. 3 mana, half your life. It's still not a good price. Not a good price at all. But yeah, you're right. Yeah, I said old boy. Okay, acceptable losses. 4 mana for a sorcery as an additional cost to play acceptable losses. Discard a card at random from your hand. Acceptable losses deals 5 damage to target creature. Only a creature. Pathetic. So it's 4 mana, 2 cards, deal 5 damage. Can't even kill Primeval Titan. Lesthian, barrel down. Sokuzan. Who's down for a barrel? 3 mana for an instant with sweep. Return any number of mountains you control to their owner's hands. Barrel down deals damage to target creature equal to twice the number of mountains returned this way. Yeah, we should have probably had all the sweep cards on this show. Not enough sweep. Jonathan with Dispersing Orb. It's like an exercise ball. We have a 5-mana enchantment. Pay 4, sacrifice a permanent, return target permanent to its owner's hand. I guess it's supposed to be used defensively. Maybe. It's a pretty high cost. We already spent like 5 mana on this thing. I would think cards like this are a little bit more worth it if you could get onto the battlefield on turn 1 or turn 2 because you don't have anything else to do. And then when you hit the 4 mana, then you can start messing with your opponents. We got Varg. Thanks so much for your super chat. Donation for a rando in chat. Appreciate the entertainment. Show is always interesting. Thanks so much, Varg. Hell, I'll even divide it between 2 people. How about that? You want the donation, Elgot? I use donation for... Oh, did you get... Not Snut. Did you screw up your super chat? I can't remember. Spuzum. Strategist. This is not a real card. What's with you people? 4 mana for a 4/4. You make all choices for Spuzums you control. This is off topic, damn it. Okay, Almond. Is Necrologia worth it? Necrologia. Well, I've never heard of it, so probably not. In Shieldred, maybe? You know, Shieldred can make a lot of bad cards look good, but certainly they're not good in the first place. 5 mana for an instant. Cast it only during your end step? Huh, that's a very narrow time to play it. Has an additional cost to cast Necrologia. Pay X life, draw X cards. Oh, so it's like just a crappy... it's basically crappy... A one-time use Necropotence. Because that's exactly how they use it. I don't know if Spuzum sounds wrong. It sounds fine to me. Or if you're just dirty-minded. Maybe a little column A, a little bit of column B. Larry Law wants a card. Fold into Ether. Four mana instant, counter target spell. If you do, that spell's controller may put a creature card from their hand into play. If you do that spell's controller... there's no cost to this thing. Do you see the fun fact you posted? What's the fun? Fun fact! The pain lands are actually really old. The allied ones were printed in Tempest as you know them. But the enemy ones came later. Wizards of the Coast printed cards like Pine Barrens for the enemy colors. Oh yeah, they're super, super old. Yeah, the enemy ones came out in Invasion. I know, because I was there. They tried to bring Wooburg back, people. They brought gold back, and with the gold, they brought pain lands. Okay, Tola Duck. Nahiri's Sacrifice. I wonder if they sacrifice anything in this card. 2 mana for a sorcery. As an additional cost to cast this spell, sacrifice an artifact or creature with mana value X. Nahiri's Sacrifice deals X damage divided as you choose among any number of target creatures. So if I sack a 5 mana creature, I deal 5 damage to all my opponent's to whatever I want of my opponent's creatures. Okay, that's it for today. Cool show. Actually, it was a nice show. There's a bunch of cards. I love the shows where we see a bunch of new cards I've never seen before. And today was like a pretty refreshing type of show. All right, as usual, we do this weekdays, 3 p.m. Central Standard Time. Where are you during these shows? You should be here, 3 p.m. I announce it every single show, but somehow people just don't get the message. They're always like, Nikachu, when does the show happen? I say every single time. People just don't make it past the sponsor break, I guess. Thanks to everyone who supports the show financially. If you're a patron on Patreon, a member on YouTube, or you super chat to be part of the show, or even super chat so other people are part of the show. And of course, thank you to the Coffee Crew, the Zyber Nation, people like Lil Deadfly, Christopher B, Kano, Evan, Steve Cooper, Old Boy Benjamin, Berkeley, Dimitri, Jack, Talathar, Dustin, Leslie, and Toads, Bob Talks Bridge, Bryce, Wide Shut, Hexanort, Jess. Because of course you are the Coffee Crew that makes the show what it is every day. So keep bringing them coffees. Keep brewing the juices flowing in your brain. We'll keep brewing up the magic. Take care of yourselves, and I will see you at the next cup.